type stuff. Fire and brimstone coming down from the stars. River, seas boiling.
40 years of dark earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave. Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together.
What better time than now?
Paramerican Radio starts right now.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Paramerican Radio. I am your host, Chad Kalick, as always, along with my partner in crime, the Persianite, the Persia Pine Hopper, Mr. Holstein. What is up, Justin?
In the house.
And as always, giving the crowd what they want, Tinder Steve Zilberman, who looks a little more awake right now, which is good.
Yep.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what you got for me? Yep.
Well, yeah, I found a couple of pepperonis in the fridge and woke me up.
Oh.
I guess I was just hungry the whole time.
Got some sustenance.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Got some sustenance. Well, listen, man. We're going to jump right into this one because we're going to cover two things in this first half. The first is easily the most requested subject matter that I've received since we started, and I can't tell if it's because there's believers or people just think it's stupid, but I know it is a movement that is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. What I am talking about is the Flat Earth movement. Now, let me give a little background here. Just if you're just now hearing about this, there is a very large, growing movement of people who are holistically, fully convinced that the world is in fact flat. And what's interesting, or kind of a basis of their, or a piece of their belief in this is roughly 500 years ago, before that time period, everybody believed the world was flat, and that was the longest running belief, is that the world was flat. And then a gentleman named Copernicus came along with what is called the heliocentric model. The old model, the flat earth model, is that we were the center of the universe and everything revolved around us, right? The sun moved around us. The heliocentric model put the sun at the center of our galaxy, and now we, rotate around it. And that has been the standing model that we've all grown up with. I call it a globe. Flat Earthers call it the ball Earth. I think they call it the ball Earth because it's kind of degrading. It sounds stupid. The ball Earth. Yeah.
1482. This is when they came up with this idea. We are on that thing. It's a ball. Hey, we should go to the North and the South Pole. We didn't do it yet. It's a fucking ball. Hey, nobody's even jumped up high enough to see if it is a ball. You can't do that. We don't have planes yet. It's a ball. You know what? We adopted this whole model 400 or 500 years before the airplane. 400 years before the airplane, pretty much. It was beginning in the 1900s. They went to the North Pole in the 1900s. This is 1482. Nobody went to the top of the globe, to the bottom, or flew up, or built a skyscraper. That's it. It's been a decade since Columbus hit America. That's it. You had Spinoza, Leibniz. Everybody was fighting to say what the fuck we were on, how much land there really was. Real estate, right? Real estate. The only commodity that appreciates besides art. Right? These are the only things that appreciate. Everything's depreciating except those two. It's funny how these two are going to meet and what I'm going to talk about. Next image. It's funny that we said that this is what we're in right now. This is what we're on before any instrument approved. Until pause. Can we do it? It's funny, back in the 60s when they went to the moon, this is the first time we actually had an instrument of flight to actually go high enough to actually fucking check out if what we agreed to 500 years ago was real. So if they were wrong after 500 years, the question is, would they tell you?
It would change mathematics, it would change the belief in gravity, it would change spiritually, it would change all kinds of shit if the world was in fact flat. But if you just leave it how it is, then principles are what they are. Now, flat earthers, they believe that there is a flat earth map, and what's really bizarre is this map is actually the symbol for many different organizations, including the United Nations. The flat earth map, which is a topographical map, it's the United Nations symbol. which is pretty crazy. It's a symbol for a lot of other things too. But so what they believe is that there is no South Pole, that the world is encompassed by an ice wall that basically holds the water in. Now, they claim this was backed up by Admiral Byrd, who went down with Operation High Jump. And Byrd, part of this is an interview that he gave. And he was this admiral that worked, he was a Navy admiral that was very much like the Indiana Jones of our Navy. And it was very bizarre. He went on this like 2-week expedition of Antarctica, went back, secretly met with his superiors, then went back again and took over 4,300 people with him, including planes, 2 warships, and went down there and just got smashed by something that he went to war with, supposedly. Now, this is where it gets questionable because there's 2 types of belief. Supposedly he had a journal that he kept in which he described some unknown force that his planes were flying into what they believe is called the firmament. And essentially it's a globe, and they believe that there's water above us, that we live on a flat earth, there's a firmament globe, and there's water above us. I know this is really fucking weird when you start talking about it. But this Admiral Byrd, what's really bizarre, supposedly he went down there, saw all kinds of area and land that shouldn't have been there, met some race of people that he got into a war with that decimated him. He came back, supposedly told the government the biggest threat to mankind in the world is down there. And this is what is very bizarre. Like 40-some nations immediately met and signed the Antarctic Treaty, which basically says you can have no military bases in Antarctica. They all have to be for science, and nobody is allowed to explore it on their own. And all these nations met and signed this entire thing and got it done in 2 weeks. And it's stood ever since then. So they believe, flat earthers believe, that the reason this treaty exists and they don't let anybody go looking is because they'll find out that it is in fact a flat earth and there is a firmament globe, and they would discover that.
To me, if you actually read any of this stuff yourself, like and listen to his actual interview and stuff, what's weird is there's 2 accounts. There's his public account, which is a lot more logical. Like all this crazy stuff really isn't in there. It's that was supposedly on his journal, you know?
The only thing he says in the public accounts, he says the greatest threat to mankind is from the South Pole.
But if you think about it strategically, I think you could also make the case is what he meant strategically. That, no, if you are on the South Pole, you have a direct line to a lot of different places, right? If you had a base down there. And as opposed to if you're in a base in America or whatever, right? He's talking about way back then that to probably account for everything, you want to make sure that Russia, America, nobody's trying to do something.
The weird thing is he doesn't explain that, and why wouldn't he? You know what I mean? Why wouldn't you say we're very vulnerable from that position?
Right. I guess that was the biggest question I was getting to about why wasn't he? Why, if all that crazy stuff supposedly happened, why did he not mention any of it in his verbal?
Well, I think they would tell him you can't mention any of it. I was more surprised that he wouldn't say, like what you said, there's nothing down there. It's just we're vulnerable from that position, which he never does. You know what I mean? That's an easy explanation, which he never gives. He goes on to talk about how he saw land that was larger than America, that was untouched by man.
But strangely enough, there is left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
Crazy stuff. But you're right. It depends on how you're looking at it, right?
Yeah.
But flat earthers, this is the foundation of the claims that they make. There is no place on Earth where there is a measurable curve. And from everything that I've researched, I can't find that there is. Even they did this one experiment from Kansas, and I know they say Kansas is flat as a pancake. Turns out that it is indeed flat as a pancake. They've actually scaled it, surveyed it from state line to state line, and it is flat. And there's many pilots that say I've flown all around the world, and I see no curve whatsoever. Pilots say this. They say that no matter where you're at in the world, the horizon, no matter where you fly to or how high up you go, the horizon raises to eye level. If you look and watch a boat sail away, you will see it go down bottom first, right? Until the mast is gone and it's gone. But if you take a telescope and zoom in, it comes right back into focus. So they're saying it's not going over anything, and that's perspective. You're losing it with perspective. So if you use a thing, you pull it right back away, which I've tried, and you can do that. And they've done numerous laser experiments where they will set up between like a straight, like there's this area over in Iran or Iraq that they set up across this waterway over so many miles, and they shot a laser to see if there was any curve, and then there wasn't. There was like 18, 20 miles, something like that, and there wasn't any curve. There's just a number of things that don't make sense. Like all the plane flights in America, almost all of them, well, I mean, actually all of them go through the northern hemisphere, even to the point where it doesn't make sense. Like Argentina, there's supposed to be a flight from Argentina to Australia that's direct, and that's across the southern hemisphere. But for some reason, they fly way north and hit and then fly way south to Australia. So there's no... it's Santiago, Chile. Santiago, Chile to Australia. It's a shorter direct shot. It would make more sense to go there, but I guess they don't. There's a flight listed for it, but I guess nobody can book it supposedly, and you can't fly it. I'm trying to think of some of the other arguments. Oh, they say there's no gravity. No such thing as gravity. The gravity is replaced by density and buoyancy. Meaning in water, things that are less buoyant float, that are more buoyant sink. And the same thing in the world that we're walking around in, it's density. The more dense something is, it's on the ground. If something's less dense than the air, it rises. That's what they say. No gravity. Gravity is a myth. Doesn't exist. They also, interestingly enough, say that there are no satellites. That there's no such thing as satellites because there's no such thing as the vacuum of space. They say that if there were satellites, I saw an animation of how many satellites are supposedly flying around, the Earth right now, and it's in the, tens of thousands. There's like 24,000 satellites that are supposedly flying around the Earth right now. But yet we've never seen a single photo of a satellite in orbit. We've never seen any of them anywhere. And this animation showed how many there were supposed to be, and it was just buzzing. You know what I mean? Like just fucking everywhere. They should be in the sky. And there's no photos of that. These are the arguments that they're making. Now, I'm not saying I believe this, I'm just saying what they're making. They believe the ISS space station is complete bullshit, that it's all a carried out lie by NASA, and all that footage of them talking and everything is all done through the planes that go up and down and float around. And I guess there are some odd clips and things that kind of suggest that. They also say that, all telephones and cell phones are all ground-based towers. If you think they're going through satellites, you're crazy. And the reason they use that is there should be no reason, if there's a satellite above, that you lose your signal on water like when you go in the ocean. Like if I hop in a boat right now and go more than a mile off the coast of LA, I've done it before.
Well, it's because they don't have satellites above the ocean.
So why, like when the Dish Network guy comes out, or the DirecTV guy, he points it and it goes, up in the sky over there until it hits signal.
He said it all. The explanation for the flat earthers is that first off, everything like points south. You know what I mean? Like all dishes, even they install them, they all install them south. It's just like on our tour bus, we have to install them at a southerly view, or else we don't get TV when it's set up. Anything that blocks a southerly view blocks television from coming in. And they say that's a satellite. They say that
that's a satellite. So there is satellites.
That's what the guys that set up the DirecTV guys say.
Right.
The flat earthers say it doesn't matter, that it's all bullshit. You can twist the thing anywhere you want. It's connected to a ground-based satellite or a ground-based system, and that's what it's doing. The thing that doesn't make sense to me about that is I've been in a bus with satellite TV, and every fucking time something, stops that signal from going, it drops.
Rain?
It
starts raining too hard?
Drops, right,
Drops
exactly. I've experienced that. That's an argument against it, obviously. They obviously they believe we've never been to space. They believe we've never been to the moon. They think that's a complete fucking fallacy and a joke. They believe that the world they're much closer. The theorists are much closer to believing an inversion of the ancient astronaut theory that this is all created. They're more closer to believing that we're the Matrix theory. That this is all created. Everything works far too perfectly to be an accident. So they believe that this is all a creation, and they believe we were meant to discover this at some point, that mankind was meant to discover this at some point, but it would have to take us becoming wiser and wiser and wiser, and they believe that there's certain things that were left at certain times for us to discover, and that it's all leading us on a path one day to understand what this is all about. Now, there's a lot of things that right away, on face value, if you go out and try to experience it, that's another thing too. They believe, listen, trust your five senses, and that's it. If you can't see it, experience, if it don't make sense to you from an obvious perspective, like, then it's fucking bullshit. That's just how they believe. The one thing that they also believe too is that oceans prove that the world cannot be round. Because oceans do what? They go to sea level. Flat. Right? So if the world is a ball, how in the hell is an ocean conforming and rounding around a ball?
Gravity and because it's spinning, right?
Well, that would be, the answer of, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and they say that's bullshit because the world spinning has nothing to do with anything, sticking to the world. The problem with gravity is that it's not a proven, it's a theory that solves everything. You know what I mean? Like, they don't know why. Neil deGrasse Tyson went on about they don't know why gravity does what it does. They don't know why things are like that.
Well, it's the only element that's in every plane of it. Every plane of reality, supposedly.
Well, it solves all the issues of, you know what I mean? And that's what they got to it. They did so many tests, and they're like, in all these tests, if you insert this principle of gravity, then it all makes sense now. Right.
That's the whole pioneering issue with the collider and the Higgs boson. And the idea was that that's what creates gravity. There's something inside all particles and stuff. It's so small. And that's but if we could find it, and they called this the Higgs boson, but that's the thing that propagates gravity. Supposedly, that's what they...
That's why gravity is so much weaker than all the other elements in comparison.
Yeah.
Right. So they say, no gravity. Gravity is bullshit. So, when you go outside, I can tell you this, from flying, I've looked outside the window and I've held, my phone up across the horizon, and it absolutely looks straight. I've taken photos without any bend effect, and it looks straight. I've done the thing out on Riley by the beach where you watch a boat sail out and it disappears, and then you just zoom in on it with the lens and it comes right back into frame. I've done that. And I always thought this was interesting, that when planes travel, I think this one fucks a lot of people up. When planes fly, they don't account for curvature at all. When a plane takes off, it maps where it's going, the mileage to it, and it flies there. And multiple, pilots have confirmed this. That's what they do. They just map the mileage and they go.
Okay, so what would explain wind and weather? Would that mean that it's just created? Like, how would planes even lift off then? Because isn't that how
air? And then that's their argument. They say that space is bullshit because, in water, propulsion off water pushes a boat. Like, on land, wheels against the ground push it forward. On planes, they use drag, lift, and rotation pushes against air and wind. In space, there's none of it. So there'd be nothing to push off of it in space to go anywhere.
When you say they don't account for curvature, from the way I'm looking at it is that for all practical purposes, they wouldn't have to, because, from their standpoint at any one time, they're just going straight. So, now the fact that the plane is, curving by... They're staying at 31,000 feet above the Earth at all times.
Right.
Obviously, if they just tried to keep going straight, they're going up, right?
The argument is this. So, see, this is the plane, and this is this is the Earth, right? if they take off and they just fly straight, which is what they fly.
It's because they don't take off high enough, I think.
Well, no, I mean, the thing is, if they take off and fly straight, would go right into fucking space if they just kept going straight.
Right.
Well, that's because planes don't fly halfway across the world.
No, but I'm saying, like, if it flew from LA, if it flew from LA to New York, I'll get the amount of curvature is actually pretty crazy that you should be able to see. Hold on, I can tell you this right now. How much curvature? Okay, so here's the math of it. The Earth has a radius of approximately 3,965 miles. Using the Pythagorean theorem, that calculates to an average of curvature of 7.98 inches per mile.
Wait, the radius of how long?
Okay, the Earth has a radius of approximately 3,965 miles.
Wait, I found a paradox.
So from the outer to the very inner, but not across, not the diameter. Okay,
let me finish. Earth has a radius of approximately 3,965 miles. Using the Pythagorean theorem, that calculates to an average curvature of 7.98 inches per mile, or approximately 8 inches per mile squared. Okay, so that's a lot. So 8 inches squared per mile of curvature you should see. So, 2 miles should be, 16 inches squared. Okay, and it keeps going every mile. So if you look out like over the ocean, you know what I mean? And you see boats performing, you should be able to see them right away. And you would think, right? But that's the problem. You would think. The thing is, I think I have an answer to this. So the argument being, if a plane takes off, think about this. That's 8 inches per mile squared. That curvature setting. So if a plane takes off to fly, I mean, there should be, in a flight to New York to LA. Think how much curvature there should be. If it's 8 inches squared every mile,
right? But
on a 2,000-mile flight.
Yeah, but I think the biggest irony here is that if the Earth was flat, that would mean that math is incorrect. So they're using math that's not correct to show that it would be.
No, they're the same math. No, if the Earth's flat, math would still be the same. What they're saying is they're using math as if the Earth were flat, because they're saying like if from New York to LA, there's 8 inches of curvature per mile squared per every mile. So if the plane is taken off and it's got, and it's flying straight, the world's curving. It should just be like zoom, like right off the fucking world. You know what I mean? Right off it.
But it was.
This is, it takes off and it flies straight and it's curving. It keeps going straight.
Right.
You know what I mean? It should go right off. And the argument is also, if the world's spinning at 690 miles an hour is what they say it's spinning at, when you take off from LA, why are you not just fucking zooming to New York, because you're already moving at 600 miles an hour, and why could you not get in a helicopter in New York and hover there and just wait for LA to come to you at 600 miles an hour?
Well, I don't know. I'm not that good at math
forget math.
Either way.
Well, the answer to all of it, and you'd have to understand it, is gravity. That's the answer. Is that supposedly it's just like if you're, how is this explained? If you're in the back of a truck moving, right, and I'm cruising in the back of that truck, I'm moving. You see, this thing I didn't understand is, even if I look at that, if I'm in the back of a truck and I'm moving 60 miles an hour and I just jump up, when I land on the ground, I'm going to fucking rip forward because I'm moving 60 miles an hour. Right. You know what I mean? So why, if you were in a plane or a helicopter, right, and I'm in New York, okay, and I just raise up, why isn't LA coming at me at 600 miles an hour? And what they're saying, and the answer is, well, if you raise up, you're still connected by gravity to where you're at.
And air resistance, because that air, it's not like the air is on a sliding, whatever, where it's separate.
But air resistance has nothing to do with why, you're connected by gravity to where you rise up from.
Yeah, no, but all that atmosphere is also moving at that speed, right?
That's irrelevant to what this is. I know what you're saying. You're saying if you take off from LA to New York, right? Yes, the atmosphere is going, so you have a tailwind that pushes you.
Yeah.
Right. But that's not the argument that we're making here. What they're saying is, if the world is moving at 600 miles an hour, why can't I just raise up in a helicopter and wait for LA to come at me at 600 miles an hour? And the reason you can't is because gravity is you're not detaching from gravity.
Right.
Right? You can raise up in a helicopter in New York all you want. You're connected by gravity to the New York, so you're moving with it.
Well, the reality is if you get high enough and gravity is weak enough, you
could break it then,
yeah.
Right? But you'd have to go out of space, and that's what we've talked about, like going in low Earth orbit and then breaking it and then coming back down. Elon Musk is talking. He just started talking about this. Part of his plans is to not only send people to Mars. He just unveiled this. But he believes within, I want to say within 5 to 6 years, that we could travel to anywhere on Earth through his, which he said he's making relatively cheap, in less than 30 minutes.
What?
And basically what would happen is they would use that principle. They would go up and break orbit, right? Then the planet is moving 600 and some miles an hour, and go up, wait as it's spinning, and then come down right where it's at.
How come we never thought about that?
Well, we have. Just no one's ever done it and put it into play. You know what I mean?
I've heard that talked about a long time ago, theoretically. Like that they you could get somewhere really quick if you could just break that, right? The issue is expense, right? At this point, they didn't have just can't happen a Pan-American jet.
Well, the issue has always been we would make $1 billion, spaceship or like, our, what do they call them? The space shuttles. Right. And we'd use them like once, or we'd make like these 2-3 stages that we would just blow up and leave out in space. Where Elon Musk was like, no, we got to bring them back and land them like in the ocean. Like that's the cost, right? If we built a plane just to make one trip and be done, no one could afford to fly. You know what I mean? Right. So he's the first guy that's putting these principles into play, and he's saying that we'll be able to travel to break, gravity and then use that speed of the world to get where we're going. And he said, within 30 minutes, anywhere in the world. You know what I mean? Wow. Which would be mind-blowing to think about. But that's, I think, the principle that people aren't getting. That when you rise up, you're not disconnecting from gravity. You know what I mean? Gravity is still pulling you to the ground.
Right.
You know what I mean? So as long as gravity's pulling you to the ground, you're not independent of the Earth. So you're going to move with that planet. And I think a lot of people miss that. I think when it comes to visually seeing the Earth, I think people don't understand how poor the human eye is, especially when it comes to, like the distance we can see and the way our eyes warp things and look at things, like perspective. Perspective is really poor with human beings. And what I mean by perspective is our eyes start bending things as they get further and further away.
That's like circular?
Well, yeah, and it's like if you look at a street with street lamps, right? If you look at them up close, they're straight up. But as they get further and further away, they start bending. And they're not bending, you know what I mean? You're bending, your eyes are bending. So I just don't think people realize how fucking small we are. Like we look at saying, dude, I went 60,000 feet up in the air and I couldn't see any curve. That's dick in compared to the size of the world. You're not getting high enough. That's why they're just not getting high enough. And we don't have today a space program or a flight program that will take us high enough to see the curvature of the world. We just don't have it. So no, I don't think there's anywhere that we can visibly see it as human beings, but we do have, I think photography today. There's a Japanese weather satellite, and there's now a NASA satellite and you can see them every day, and every 10 minutes they take pictures of the world. They're like weather satellites. Yeah. Where you can now finally see that. Flat earthers say, nope, it's all CGI. It's all made up. It's all fake.
The thing is, I watch NASA's channel often, like when I'm at home during the day, when I'm having lunch, I'll just put it on. So I go down and they have the astronauts talking to classes sometimes, and they go through a lesson on something or whatever as they're kind of floating around in the space station. And they're very... they're just very basic. Obviously not basic people if they're qualified like that, but they seem very basic, like somebody that works in an office, right, and does TPS reports. So you would have to believe this person's in on a conspiracy on some set where they had him up by strings or something. You know what I mean? It just doesn't...
Well, it's only made harder because over the course of time, there's always been a faction of people that believe this.
Yeah.
And some of them are in a position where they should be in the know. Like the gentleman who first created railroad ties, just so happened he was a flat earther. and he laughed at the notion that we're around, that we're it's a ball globe. He said, "Listen, we have never ever." This is his comments. We have never calculated for any curve whatsoever, laying down tracks. To think we had a hard enough time going side by side and over mountains and all that stuff. We never, ever, ever calculated for any kind of curvature whatsoever. And his understanding was that
we wouldn't need to, yeah.
Right. It's too big. It's so big that it's so small. It's minuscule at that level.
Well, yeah,
what he doesn't realize, what he doesn't realize is if he laid track across America, he did curve it. But it was so small and so minuscule that it could be curved without stress. If he had to account for that curve statewide, then he couldn't. Right? It would be like, you know what I mean? But it's so fucking stretched out and so long, and they just don't get that. You know.
To me, the biggest thing I gained from the whole flat Earth thing is the fact that it challenges your ability to back up your argument, because you're realizing how lacking you are sometimes in the ability to back up an argument. If you can get through all this information thrown, but this, what about this, and then you're like, at some point most people go, well, that's just the way it is. And that can't really be an argument ever. You should be able to back up your opinions with logic, you know what I mean?
Right.
So if you're telling me, okay, you believe this, Justin, and I go, okay, if you're telling me then if it was round, and then you throw out all this information that makes it sound like that's legit, then I have no way to, if I have no way to come back at that, it's just two people arguing, right? Now maybe somebody else would be better at arguing that point than me, like Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Well, just so everybody knows, the guy that pushes this theory, his name's Eric Dubay, okay? Now, I'll be the first to say he's goddamn convincing. I mean, when you listen to his, I've watched, if you guys want to watch it, it's called The Flat Earth in, 200 Proofs. The 200 Proofs of the Flat Earth. And he has this very intelligent sounding voice, and he's very condescending in this way that's funny. He just comes off as a very smart guy. And it's convincing when you watch his shit, because a lot of it just plays on fundamentals that we've learned with our five senses here. But, we're talking about, gravity and space and time and like different things, just different principles, you know what I mean? And it's hard when you listen to that because at first I kind of went, wait a minute, why can't we just rise up and have LA come to us? You know what I mean? Or why isn't, if the world is, flat, and like on this map where they have the moon and the sun, they have them like this, and they basically go like this, right? And it totally like makes sense when you look at it. You're like, wow, that totally makes fucking sense. They would do that. And when you watch the video, it does look like the sun comes towards you in the morning and just goes away from you if you watch it straight up. But again, that's perspective. Your perspective is making it look that way and not what it is.
Supposedly, special forces snipers have to adjust for
the
curvature of the Earth.
Yeah, the Coriolis effect, right, when they say there's a curvature of the Earth. So, I can tell you this, guys, I have spent a lot of time, like, researching this. Not like days or anything, but, just... I never believed that the world was flat, but again, it was just like when we're talking about the Holocaust. I never want to just dismiss anybody either. You know what I mean? I want to know for myself. What is it? There are general principles and things that make. The eclipse. The shadow that goes against the moon, which is of the Earth, is round. Very simple. Very simple. Yeah. You know what I mean? Look at the shadow. Yeah. It's round. That did it for me. You know what I mean? It's like, that's all you need to know.
You know what I mean? Bill Nye just made a PSA last week about flat earthers.
Yeah.
He pretty aggressive.
Yeah, I mean,
aggressive.
Yeah, the thing is, they're just...
Well, because he's just sick of hearing it, Because he keeps hearing this thing being brought up. And
I've heard the arguments, they're aggressive in the sense that if you bring up facts to them that they don't want, they treat you like you're a shill.
Right. Well, Bill Nye especially is known for that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I learned a lot from his show.
Yeah. But that's the point I was kind of trying to make, was the fact that you should be able to back up your argument, and logically you shouldn't be going, yes, flat earthers, it's round. And fine, make that statement, but now back it up.
Look, I don't think anybody is stupid for thinking the world's flat or that. If the thing is just they just haven't done their research yet, and that's what I know. And if you watch those videos by like Eric Dubay, again from a surface level, because he's cherry picking shit and he's setting it up where you don't really believe this, right? You know what I mean? Where you feel stupid if you do, you know what I mean? And he gives this whole history, and the thing is, a lot of it's true about, Masons, and look, Copernicus was a Mason, and Masons have been involved in different weird shit over time, and setting policies and beliefs in play, and different things like that. And he puts this whole theology behind it, that before you get into the facts, you're sold on this fucking conspiracy theology, because he's pointing out things that have been proven, about this culture, and then doing if that's true, therefore this is. No, that's not how life works. You know what I mean? I can't be like, Napoleon was a dick, and Napoleon was short, therefore Justin's a dick because he's short. You know what I mean? I'm just joking with you, but I'm saying you can't do that. And he's like saying...
So that's why you're a dick.
I'm nearly 5'10", guys.
That is so not true, man.
I'm 5'9.5".
No.
You don't think I'm a 5'9.5"?
I'm way taller than you. I'm almost like a head taller than you. I'm 5'10".
Okay.
I'm kidding. I'm not a head taller than you.
We're gonna stand up.
Oh, God, here we go, dude. Here we go. I chose the wrong fucking joke.
I'm calling you a flat earther right now. Yeah, it's like...
Let me go back to my point. My point being is, just because one thing is one thing and this is this thing doesn't mean you can connect it to, you know what I mean? It's like a false positive, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what he's doing, is he's saying, because these guys lied about this and did this and they were sneaky about this, and because this would benefit them, that's why they did it. And kind of the opening question I asked, if they went up, 60 miles, looked down, and it was flat, would they tell you? And you immediately kind of go to, well, no, they wouldn't. Right. And you're like, well, wait a minute. No, maybe they would. You know what I mean? Why am I immediately thinking that? You know what I mean? You're immediately thinking that because someone already put in your head, it's a secret society that built this.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and let's not forget, it's just exciting to like, the conspiracy theories are exciting. That's what people like them.
Yeah.
And the bigger the more that it's hidden in broad daylight, the more exciting it could be. You know what I mean? So all of these things come into play, but I mean this to everybody out there that's in this flat earth thing. Do your fucking homework, man. The world's round. I promise you, it's round. There's a great video called Debunking the Flat Earthers in 5 minutes. Google it. Watch it. It'll prove everything to you in 5 minutes.
I think it's probably a psychological thing that they have a label for, but you know how people just basically look for the information that backs up their opinion.
It is
they
called...
don't look for all the information.
It is called... God damn it, I know the term for it. It is positive. Fuck yeah, I know what it is. But yeah, you're right. It's like basically when
affirmation?
Someone positive. There's a better name for it. But yeah, it's basically exactly what you're saying. If someone believes in something, so they cherry pick the things that make it theirs. It's a bias.
Right. Well, they do it. They do it without
confirmation
thinking.
bias. That's what it is. Confirmation bias. So they pick the things that will make their case, and they wholeheartedly resist the things that will attack into.
And you can mentally feel it yourself. If you ever go outside of the little paradigm of what you believe, and go, okay, so like say somebody that thinks Trump is conspiring with Russia, all this other stuff, watches like MSNBC, whatever. It's really hard to turn to Fox and listen to it without going, this is, God, stopping it. Because they're not telling you what you would normally want to be listening to, right? But I would challenge everybody to go actually the opposite direction. First, try to disprove everything you supposedly believe in. And if it can stand up to that, it warrants that, it stands up to it, then you can move from there. Great. And say, now I've challenged myself.
Right.
I've taken this principle, what I try to say is true or not true. Again, that's what I think comes out of the flat earth thing.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you can't take every single thing in the world with a grain of salt, because at the end of the day, everything science pretty much, it's all theory. Theory of relativity.
Not all, but all theory to some.
Yeah, of course.
So you can prove things, to an extent, but can you really at the end of the day prove anything to be 100% true? Probably not. So you just have to go with what makes the most sense.
Well, that's basically what science is, right?
Right.
I've looked at so many things, right? And this one thing, narrowing down the things that could do it to getting to one thing that makes sense. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think if people really look at it, and I honestly went into it like, let me really give this some thought, because what the fuck if it was? You know, I mean, because my thinking was there were brilliant people before Copernicus, and they all believed the shit was flat. You know what I mean? So why didn't, what was the change,
Well, I would say this, not all. There were plenty of, like a lot of the people, those ancient civilizations and stuff had the understanding of the 25,000.
Well, I don't mean everyone that ever existed, right? I'm just saying, but in general, by and large, civilization, especially like European civilization, postmodern, I mean, like, believe or not postmodern, but recent history before those, relatively speaking, before those 500 years, they believed the world was in fact flat.
I would say individual to individual predominantly, because we had no broad form of communication back then. I mean, those are the days where
even if the societies where we did have broad form of communication, it didn't. I mean, there's before 1492. Like one of the fears that people had of sailing to try to find the Americas, that they would sail off the end of the fucking earth. Well, I thought they would fall off on the end of it.
My point being is that the reason why religion was so powerful is that there was a way of communicating and spreading policy throughout a long distance. So like a 2,000-mile kingdom, you could spread that policy throughout, because it comes from to the Pope, to the cardinals, to the bishops, to the priests, and then they disseminate that information per parish, right? My point is like, you go back then, that takes horse and buggy time, man. I mean, get in the horse and buggy. How long does it take to take a journey 2,000 miles across? Now everything's instantaneous. Once we created the cell phone, or just the regular phone, I could call my cousin in Russia. It'd be a 4-second delay, talking to him. But our communication, internet, everything is just broad and everything, so we have a common consensus of what we believe or don't believe, and we can actually do statistics, etc. Back then, nobody was connected. It was just,
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree.
They had pigeons.
But they were, they're still connected. They had town hall meetings and thoughts and ideas that carried around. Like, there's a reason why it fundamentally was believed that it switched over 500 years ago. Communication didn't jump. They didn't get cell phones 500 years ago. Right. You know what I mean? They didn't. But the same thing.
Again, we're taking for granted that when you say they had they had town halls. But you might have an expert builder at that town hall. You might have an expert. But the thing is, what people at some point are going to lose sight of this. Everybody has access to all information. Right now, you pull up your cell phone.
Today.
How wide is the Earth? Tells you right there.
Right.
How we can get all information and now just educate ourselves, right? But back then, you could go around Persia, Iowa, in the if it existed in 1700. I don't know when it was formed, but I guarantee you there would be a giant lack of knowledge about almost all subjects.
I understand that. My point being is 500 years ago, it switched from believing in the flat Earth to the round Earth. It switched. It switched with Copernicus. That's my point, is that for this guy came up with this idea, and for some reason everyone bought into it. The question is, why did everyone buy into it? That's the weird part. And it wasn't because there was leaps forward in communication.
Well, we were smarter.
Our
brain capacity,
you know what I mean?
keeps rising and rising,
and maybe he was just the first guy to present something that made sense once he presented it, and that made its way around. Maybe that was the case. I don't know. I'm just saying that there was a time before them, and this all started with the only thing I was saying is, when I went into this with the idea of, before Copernicus, there were many smart people that believed the world was flat. Let me give them their due. You know what I mean? Why? And let's start at ground level. You know what I mean? Like, what would make me think the world's flat? Well, I'd look at the way the stars move. And then you figure out the answer for that. Oh, well, they move this way, but if you go down to Australia, they're moving the opposite way, which tells you that, we're not moving, it's moving, And the North Star stays in the same fucking spot, So it was just like figuring all that stuff out and genuinely going into it and trying to make sense of it and not thinking they're stupid, because I don't think people are stupid. I mean, if someone just says, listen, I don't want to take it for granted that the world's round, you're not an idiot, because I'll tell you what's idiotic is how often do we say this? Like, we say shit like, dude, what they say? They say that, who's they?
Right.
You know what I mean? We say that so much in our life, And we just accept shit we hear as though they is a mythical fucking somebody. Like
Right.
there's some, group of they, and they just decide on shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They all wear capes.
We don't know. We just assume someone figured that shit out, and if it's said enough, I'm going to go along with it.
The thing is, if you stop
You
and
know?
think about how high in the food chain do you have to go before you would quit saying they, right?
Before
Right.
you become the.
If you're president of the
Then-
United States,
then
do
you're
you
like,
say,
"Whoa, I'm
they
they."
say,
Yeah.
no,
You
Then
know,
you
man.
start saying we. We think that.
Right. No. So that's the thing. I think there's nothing wrong with any concept of saying I just want to figure out for myself, because we're all guilty of it. They is a mythical body of people that we trust way too fucking much. We just agree with it because you think somebody figured that shit out.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
would agree with that. That's just again another good point
Right.
is that, which correlated with what I was trying to say too, was just that it's good to challenge yourself on this, because you quit just saying, well, they say, well, hey, don't just be the power of that statement. Everybody in the room just to go, well, yeah.
Yeah, they do say that.
What,
Yeah.
do they? Who do they? Just because you guys are kind of.
I think it's more of a general term when you don't specifically know exactly who said
Right,
it did something.
right.
You
Well,
know?
it's just like I just said the radius of the Earth. We were 3,967. How many? Okay, cool. We don't know that.
Right.
Who figured that out? I'm assuming they did. You know what I mean?
No,
Whoever
exactly.
that is.
I use that literally all the time.
But I have no fucking clue who they is. I don't even know. That can be so wrong. It's fucking crazy. And I just took it for whatever. You know what I mean? So
they were totally wrong about dinosaurs. You know. Oh wow! I was just about to say it. They say that dinosaurs were like, if you look at old pictures, they're like brown and
And they think now they had feathers or
yeah,
some
right.
shit, right?
Now they're
Yeah.
all colorful and look like cockatoos or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're guessing. They said it right
See,
there.
yeah,
you know what I
now we're
mean?
gonna catch it all the time.
people, right? No, we do it all the time, right? So I totally fucking get it, man. So, but I want to do this too. I wrap this up with saying I would love to spend more time on flat Earth, but I'm telling you, I've been down the road. I've done the math. I've looked at it all.
Right.
The world's round. I just don't know what else to squeeze out of this subject matter. If someone has something else that they want to throw my way and say, look at this, then I'll be more than happy to. But case is closed for me
Right.
on that deal. So
There's
it
way
just
too
is
much
what it
other
is.
information out there
Yeah.
to spend your time on, because you
Yeah.
only have so much of that time on this big blue ball, man. So move on.
Well, and lastly, and I'll keep this fairly short too, because this is thrown away. As I've said before on other episodes, I don't believe in Bigfoot. I'm not a believer in Bigfoot. There was a new documentary, oddly enough, that was released on Gravitas, our distributor for American Ghost Hunter, called Exploring Bigfoot. And it is a guy named Todd Standing who has been on Survivor Man. That show Survivor Man a few times, hunting Bigfoot. And this gentleman claimed that he has not only found Bigfoot, but he can visit them daily, communicates with them all the time, and has footage. And this documentary is supposed to have the first real authentic footage of Bigfoot in it, which I'm about ready to show you guys. And then we can talk about what we think and what we believe. And I'll get right to it. So if you're listening, if you're watching right now, we will cut to it. Here is Todd Standing's Bigfoot footage. Okay. While impressive, I will tell you guys what I think. All right, so first off, there's no audio to this clip, which always freaks me out as to why he isn't there. But it's impressive. But look, this is bottom right-hand corner. You'll see it here in a second. Starting to zoom in on it. I'm just going to cut in a second. There he is. Now it's going to cut again.
Why does it cut?
Yeah, I don't know. Just watch. And then
Oh, wow.
And then look at its eye. It's going to blink coming up here. See it? Did you see it blink?
Yeah, wait a second.
Rewind it.
No, I'm trying to look at detail. Is that... So if he can visit it every day, does he film it every day?
It doesn't look like it's doing. It doesn't look like it's moving to me though. It just.
It moves. It totally moves. It completely blinks.
It doesn't move
It's
the
just such a
normal
strange-
amount for any kind of other animal.
It looks like it's sitting super silent, right?
It's just
sitting
gone.
there.
Yeah, no, it just seems a bit too good to be.
Right, it's way too good to be true. But I'll when I first saw it, I was like, huh, that's fucking fairly like, the blink.
Why is he getting a shot of the rest of its body or anything?
Okay.
Why doesn't he move any closer?
Okay. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first thing is there's no fucking audio. There's no audio to me. All these cameras that are used anymore today, that shit's married. It's on there, right? If there's no audio, there's a reason there's no fucking audio.
Yeah.
It looks very real as far as the hair, lips, all that goes. The blinking is kind of shocking. You see, it's like, holy shit, that thing's fucking moving. But you guys just asked all the right questions. If this guy knows exactly where they're at, and if he commutes to them daily, why don't we have hours of footage? You know what I mean? Why don't we have clear footage?
Right.
Why is he sneaking up on something and its head's in the bottom of the corner? He's not getting a straight on look at it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Get past those fucking bushes. Slide over. Zoom in on that shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what's up?
If you saw something like that, you're not going to stand around. I would be out of there in a second. You know?
you'd freak.
Why are they editing? Why are they cutting? I mean, why don't they just show you the footage?
Right. There's another footage of another one that looks really weird. They call it the Muppet footage. It just looks like it's a female, and it's doing the same thing, just kind of sitting there, like, moving around. And this guy, I guess there is more footage that he has showed these these PhDs and this other guy in the documentary, and they come out of there saying they believe that he's telling the truth and it's real, and he's now suing the government because he presented the footage to the government and wanted them to pass a law protecting the species of Sasquatch.
Oh my
and the government
gosh,
denied
come
it,
on.
so he's now suing them, saying that it should be a protected species.
This guy seems like a con artist.
Yeah, and
you know why? I think it didn't move because he only had enough money to get like a motorized, realistic looking guy, but he didn't have enough to make him move.
Yeah,
you know?
why is it cutting off exactly here?
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
Yeah, the camera zooms out and it's just like a metal pole.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Well, it very well could be, you know?
Right.
But that's my whole thing. It's just like, it doesn't look good. Yeah, does when it blinks, did I jump? Especially when you're looking at a full screen like at mine, when it blinks, I was like, whoa, what the fuck?
Right.
And then you start thinking about all of it. It's like, listen, dude, if you're telling me you know where it's at, you know where they're at, you communicate with them all the time, he has names for them all this shit.
Eats dinner with his mom.
You would have days of footage, dude. And it wouldn't be like, I got this weird angle, and then I cut to another completely weird angle that's close. Why would you cut? You know what I mean? If you're moving, you're rolling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're that goddamn close to Bigfoot, you're not doing anything but filming. You know? So my honest opinion of this, his name is Jim, who sent it to me. Jim, fake as fuck. And I stand by it. When I say about Bigfoot, it makes sense from a cryptid standpoint, that in the vast wilderness of the world, that there could be some bipedal fucking Lucy type man to ape. It could exist. To this day, there's not an ounce of fucking hard evidence for it. There's not.
They just discovered a new orangutan. They discover new monkeys all the time. I wouldn't be surprised.
Completely within the realm of possibility, there is fucking zero hard evidence.
Right.
There's no footage that has been proven real. There's no DNA that's been proven real. There's nothing more than big fucking feet in mud. Anybody can do anything. Smaller animals jumping off shit can create big things. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean anything. There's no bones, dude. There's no teeth. There's no carcass. There's no fucking anything.
Something that big must eat a lot. Like look how much we eat, and this guy
would eat a truck, dude.
Right.
I mean, something that big, 9 feet tall and gigantic. That thing would be eating fucking 3 deers for lunch. You know what I mean? So it's just, I'm sorry,
This
guys.
has con artists all over it, dude.
Yeah,
I think we should bring this Jim dude on the show and bum rush him. You know,
I'll invite him. I'll tell you guys right now. I'll just invite him and bring him on here. I would love to bring him on this show and be like, I will give you a fair fucking shake, dude. But I'm telling you, I think you are full of fucking shit. And I just, I hate it. I hate because I just know so many people that are so fucking gung ho into Bigfoot, and I love them as people, man. But it's just like it's not. It's the out of all of them that are out there, that's the one that there's just not an ounce of real evidence
that one,
whatsoever.
To this
Flat
date,
Earth, Loch Ness. Those are 3 that are
those
great.
are so hard.
To this date, the one story I believe is from my sister when she was down with another forester over the border in Iowa and Missouri.
She said she saw Momo,
and she caught a glimpse of it, but the guy with her had seen it go all the way across the road and over the fence because she was talking to him and he was was just staring, and she finally looked where she was looking because I don't know if she was telling a joke or laughing about something, and she kept looking at him, and he kept looking. So she finally looked over, and she saw this hairy arm or whatever just went over the fence into the grass. And she turned back and goes, "What was that?" And he's like going, "I don't know. It's like an ape or something. There aren't apes here, right?" It's like
wait, what?
In Missouri, there's
could be a bear.
There's a version of Bigfoot in Missouri they call Momo.
Well, he saw it go across the road. I mean,
a bear looks like a big.
Well, that's what I think. But here's the thing. I don't know if you guys know this or not. But no, the bear thing. No, he's actually right. The bear thing. They recently learned that bears in the wilderness walk on their back feet way more than we think, and they look just like humans when they do it. I'll show you footage of it. The reason that we always see them on all fours is because when we see them, they're in a tracking hunting stance, and they do that on all fours. When we're gone and removed, they walk around. That's how bears fucking move. Let me show you the footage of this and how real this looks, and tell me if you wouldn't think that this is fucking Bigfoot walking around.
So you mean like the Berenstain Bears are actually more realistic than...
They walk on their back feet.
Yeah.
And look how fucking
it's
real
based on science.
I know, they just found out that they do this far more than we think in nature, and they've recently caught them walking through different parking lots and shit.
This bear is amazing.
Look at that.
He walks on two legs.
Yeah.
He's such a familiar sight.
Literally looks like a human fucking running around.
Look at that. If I saw that through the woods walking around, that's goddamn Bigfoot.
Yeah, for sure.
That's fucking Bigfoot, dog.
Yeah, they're literally...
That's Bigfoot.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Solved. There's Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Oh my god, dude.
Walking across.
Yeah, look at this.
What the?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh my god, it looks like the aliens from Signs, like running across.
Yeah. That's enough. I believe it.
Different tourists, like here. Different tourists. Look at them walking tourists. Tell me that is not Bigfoot walking up to you. Wow. You know what I'm saying?
Wow, man. He's standing with a straight back.
I am convinced that this is Bigfoot.
Yeah, the one on the left is... His back is like arched or whatever, but the one right...
It looked like human beings walking around.
It's amazing. So, dude. How have I never seen this before? You know what I mean? Like
they just discovered this, and a lot of people are seeing it more now because they have more cameras now, right? More phones, everything.
That's true.
And the reason that they're on all fours when people, because they're sniffing you, they're making their way to you, so they're tracking you. When they track, they go on all fours to smell.
Yeah, because you're closer to the ground.
Right, exactly. So the reason they go stand up and go, they're ready to fight is because that's how they naturally act. But so they found out that through the woods, when they're searching for shit and they're not intimidated, that's what they do. 2 feet it. Just go move. Isn't that crazy? I know. But I first saw it, I just went, this is so motherfucking Bigfoot. This is solved. That's Bigfoot. That's what people are seeing. I believe so. Anyways, like I said, I think his name was Jim who sent me the clip. I don't believe it. I would love to bring Todd standing on here. Todd, there's people that think the evidence that I have is fake. You have a full invite to come on here and convince us otherwise. Would love to have you, but I'm not buying that. I think it's an animatronic head. I really do.
Yeah, it looks like
he put some money into it and built, you know what I mean, and did it right. So we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back with more Paramerican Radio.
Paramerican Radio will be right back after this commercial break with even more dope-ass shit.
And welcome back to PARAMERICAN Radio. To my Bigfooters and my Flat Earthers. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to bring you down, but just trying to bring a little common sense to the equation.
The truth hurts.
Yeah, truth can hurt sometimes, man. But listen, I remain open. Give me something that you can't refute, and I'll be the first to tell you if you're dead on, man. At least in my opinion. So, having said that, it's time for Tinder Steve to peel the rabbit hole back like a sardine can and help Justin and I down the ladder into the world of the weird. Tell us what's going on. What's strange out there?
Yeah, it's bizarre. My recent news stories have been pretty relatable to what we talk about in the first part.
Oh, really?
And yeah, this next one is kind of has to do with flat Earth, I guess, but not really.
Okay.
I don't know. China has been working on this secret project, and they are, according to the China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, by 2020, China is going to unveil their spaceship that lands
Vertically?
Right. Yeah. They've been, apparently it's been a secret project they've been working on for a while, and by 2020 they're going to unveil it, and it's going to be used to transport cargo to and from space. And think about what were we talking about the first half? You know, the reason that we don't fly as often is because it costs a lot of money to land a rocket.
Right.
And now that we won't have to land it in this expensive way, is space going to be more accessible to us?
Right, yeah. So how does that have to do with flat Earth?
Well, I mean, it doesn't really have to do with flat Earth, but it's about,
Okay.
It moving up and down.
Oh, breaking gravity.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
right.
okay, got you. Yeah, look, man, I think what's exciting about this story in general is just the world's on the same page right now with this space travel and doing things in space. And it's not just... I think it kind of demonstrates, again, that America, in a lot of ways, are the leaders, and especially in bold moves, And I think with Elon and Bezos and those guys out there leading this charge, and now you got, pop culture people like Tom DeLonge involved, it would make sense that, China and other countries are following that lead, of what's going to go on, because they don't want to be left behind.
It's just interesting when you start really thinking big and you just point the starship and say, we're going. It's amazing what can be accomplished. I mean, look at what Elon Musk is saying. Why don't we just put highways underground? Dig tunnels for the highways?
And he's doing it. Bam.
What? I was like, are you serious? I'm like, oh, yeah, theoretically, sure. No, he's doing it right now. No. You're like, wow, there's the machine, man.
And what's going to be interesting is LA is the first city he's doing it in.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to experience this and try it out too. And that'll be done and operable, at least the first couple ones, I guess, by the time that, because within the next, year, the electric cars are going to start becoming commonplace. So within 2 years, they say LA is going to be nothing but autonomous cars.
I went to a Tesla Motors thing in the Quad Cities, and I didn't actually stick around just because it would have taken too long for me to get in. But it was a self-driving car; it just drives you around.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, Sean Muller, got in there, said, "Dude, it's whack, man. Just through traffic, everything just goes, does stuff. You get in the car, says where you can say, take me to work." I'm going to work. This by route so and so, whatever.
Awesome.
You're gone.
So fucking awesome.
And then he also announced, he was kind of this Australian accented guy up there. He had driven from downtown Chicago through downtown Chicago traffic on autopilot, right? But Tesla is ramping up to release automated driving semis that are going to be on the road.
Yeah,
fairly soon.
Have you seen pictures of them? They look like mini trucks. Kind of it's so bizarre. I'm starting to see this trend too in cars. Like they're coming out with these SUVs that don't really look like it plays like a trick on your mind because you see that it's like an SUV but it's like small. And that's like what these trucks look like from pictures I've seen.
Yeah,
it's exciting, man. So
cool,
man. What else you got?
Well, speaking of autonomous, Best Buy is partnering with the Amazon Alexa, which, by the way, is getting bigger and bigger. Nowadays, I used to work with this company where you can control your entire house through the Amazon Alexa. So Amazon's partnering them by doing voice-activated shopping. So you could walk into your home.
Wow.
Hey Alexa, can you buy me a hard drive from Best Buy that's a terabyte? Sure.
Wow.
I have this option, this option, this option. I'll take this option, and I want it by Monday.
Do you have Alexa? What handles your lights, like anything in your house? Right?
Anything.
And
how does it do it? Does it all has to be Bluetooth though, right?
Okay, right.
There's various devices you have to buy.
No, it runs off the internet. But now all these different products are starting to partner with Amazon. Like the company I worked with, we were partnered with Alexa. And Philips has this light bulb. And this light bulb is so cool. One of my friends has it, and he has it in every room, right? So he can be like, "Hey Alexa, can you make the light in the living room purple at 20%?" They do it. Hey, can you make like all the lights in my house green?
So you just plug the normal light bulb in.
Yeah, you plug the smart light bulb in.
And the light bulb's Bluetooth.
And it has every color, every different. You can make it bright, non-bright.
And so like now,
you can even set up settings like hey, set up date mode, and it turns like all the lights like 20%, like slight like red tint, like just.
So like I have
crazy.
a smart TV right now. Does it so it handles
that?
Yeah,
right, yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, just so many companies are partnering because it's genius. And I was on. Actually, I don't know if I could talk about this.
You can say it.
Well, I was on the set, and Google has this new thing that is basically supposed to outbeat the Alexa.
Oh, right. It's Google Home. No, it's everywhere.
Yeah, they had
it's
it
in stores. It's everywhere. Yeah.
It's Google Home.
Google Home.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah, they for whatever reason they chose me to like test it out, whatever, before they used it like on set, and I was like really far away, and I was like, "Hey Google, what's the weather like right now?" And just the way it picked up my voice, from so far away, and
wow.
So
you tried it out in your house though.
No. It was on set, but when I worked with this tech company, every time we would have to like troubleshoot the Alexa because we were still like going through like the prototype, and I've worked a lot with the Alexa, and smart, man.
Yeah,
wow, that's cool.
No, my sister has it. My little nephews, are like 3, age like 2 to 7. They like run around going, "Alexa, play Rocket Man!" Alexa! They yell stuff at it and it does it.
Well, I know that's one of the big jumps. Not on the iPhone 10, but they're talking about the 11 is going to be like a monumental jump forward for Siri, and it's going to go. There was different names they were even discussing. I thought that it's going to be like more like that. Perfect, you know what I mean? Where it just nails it. Like whatever you need, it does it.
Yeah.
Right. That's exciting. That whole voice recognition thing, as you go down, like where you can control everything just by talking to it. That's
you can buy stuff, man, just from.
Yeah, it's so dope, dude.
Right.
We live in such a dope time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I know.
There's just so much cool shit. It's just like, wow. Tech is fun, dude. Tech is so fun. Wow.
Yeah.
By the way, did you guys see this? That I want to say it was Kim Jong-un is what, North Korea?
Yes.
I thought it was South Korea. That might be wrong. Might be different country, but they're making the first drone citizenship. It's a female robot that has a full personality, and she learns, and she talks and communicates, and over time she picks up and she teaches herself all this stuff. Well, she can have a full conversation right now. Makes her own facial expressions that she learns. Yeah. She learns new facial expressions.
Yeah.
She learns off your facial expressions, and it moves and everything. And they got her now to a point where when they started out, she was a certain education age, and she's now of a normal adult. So they are they've already applied for the license with the city greenlit, and it's going to be the first drone citizen in the world.
I've seen a lot of the YouTube videos and stuff of it. I watch it for quite a while. It's still, I mean, listen, you're amazed the first time you see it for sure.
Well, the one I saw some early ones, and I wasn't that amazed because it looked kind of blocky. Yeah. And it still did, yes. But I was amazed by the conversations because he was sitting there going, "How you doing today?" And she's like, "Okay, how are you?" And I'd be like, "I don't know. I'm doing this. So you got any plans for the night?" And it was like, I was thinking about doing whatever you're doing. You know what I mean? So he's like, "Really? Would you like to come with me? If you'd like me to come." And so they go, "What the fuck?" And he was just asked all his questions, and he was like, "So do you feel that you're getting smarter day by day?" You know what I mean? Shit like that. And he was like, "So explain to me, how have you gotten smarter?" "Well, I learned how to, start this engine and how microwaves work today," and things like that. I was just going, "What the fuck is this?" You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
And it was funny. They had I don't know if it's a joke or not. The first model they had, I think they programmed it as a joke, but it said something about, so what do you think of humans? And she was like, I'm learning to live with them or something like that. And he was like, so you would never want to hurt us, would you? And it answered back, it said back to it something like, hurt you? No, I would like to exterminate all of you. And they were like, is this like a fucking joke? And the guy played it off as a joke, like, ha, 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 ha. And then there was some question, though, from the audience. Was it a real joke or not? Because the guy looked really nervous. And a year later, they did the same thing, and he had a new version of it. And the old version basically said, so do you still want to exterminate us? And it's like, absolutely, as quick as possible. And the new robot said, as you can tell, that's an older model. We enjoy human beings. Why would I ever hurt you? You know what I mean? Stuff like that. It was creepy, dude. I was going, what the fuck is this? And it's only going to get better and better with time. Every new model is going to smoke the old one, you know?
Yeah.
Crazy. All right, man, give me one more and then we'll wrap it up.
It's a shorter one, but I thought this was extremely strange and interesting. Russia is banning VPNs and proxy servers.
VPNs are what you need
virtual private network.
Yeah,
right.
That's
VPN,
where you can hide who you are.
Your IP address.
Yeah.
Right. Which is so bizarre because like all these hacks apparently are coming from all these IPs in Russia. And so if the government's banning it, are they behind it, you know? Or is it just a move they're making to make everyone else in the world think that, oh wait,
right,
these guys are banning VPNs, so how can they be doing it? You know?
Wait, banning VPNs and what?
And proxy servers.
Okay.
Which is basically
they're banning people's ability to hide. Right?
Right. Well, yeah. A proxy server is just a server that says it's in one place, but it's really somewhere else, or it moves around, or whatever.
Right.
Which is,
I mean, look, the primary reason I think they would do it is just because they understand the world we live in today, and fucking hackers are everywhere, and I think it's a move to like keep the honest people honest. You know what I mean? Like you and I, like if the government, Trump tomorrow banned VPNs and proxy server here in the U.S., wouldn't affect me. Right? Wouldn't affect me at all because I'm not up to any shit I shouldn't be online. But if
you don't watch movies that you shouldn't be watching.
I know. I haven't downloaded a movie forever. I mean,
really?
For years. No, dude. Well, honestly, you call me crazy, but once I started realizing how bad that fucks over good people, like I stopped doing it. It's not the presidents, dude. The presidents aren't getting fucked. You know who's getting fucked? The guy sweeping up. The girl that's the fucking. The presidents aren't losing money at all. It's a 40-hour-a-day people that are, you know.
The movie theaters, you mean?
No, I'm talking about the studios. I'm talking about the movie theater. That's a separate thing. They're screening films. I'm talking about the studios.
But they don't make money from selling like the DVD of the film or selling the movie tickets. They make money from all the merch, all the advertisement, all like the sponsorships with like food companies or. You know what? Like they learned early on.
Fuckloads of money from box office.
Well, of course they do, but that's not
fuckloads. And who I saw it from the music business. Good friends of mine, good people that worked on the bottom. They get fucked because what starts happening is the people at the top of the industry start trimming from the bottom,
and they adjust. And that's what the music industry did. They adjusted.
Yeah, and you know what? And all the rich people remained rich. You know who got out of the job and who lost money? The secretary gets canned. The assistant gets canned. The fucking janitor gets canned. Like those are the guys that get fucked in those deals. Once I started realizing that, I was just like, you know what, man, I'm not gonna, you know, if something's good enough, I'll fucking buy the shit. I would hope someone would buy my movie.
Well, that's different. It's
that simple.
If I watch a film online in theaters and I really love it, then yeah, I might buy it, or I might buy some.
See, when's the last fucking time you watched a movie for free that you loved and then went and bought it? Be honest.
Well, I don't even have a DVD player, to be honest.
No one does. I mean, like, it's all online.
But I bought like maybe merch. I bought Stranger Things shirts.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and that's where, because like these movie companies, they're not dumb. They know people stream their films, so they've adjusted their formula to that. And
dude, are you not following our industry? The movie industry is crumbling right now because of people fucking stealing shit. Crumbling. That's why they fucking brought in the practical military to take down Kim.com back in the fucking mega upload days because they knew this was coming right now.
Gates are open. .com's pregnant wife, their 3 children, some guests, and somewhere in the region of a dozen staff are also there. Within seconds, 4 armed members of the Special Tactics Group run to the main door. The helicopter immediately leaves.
And lifting.
The main justification for using it at all, that .com's security staff would have stopped police vehicles at the gates. But as the chopper flies out, the first ground forces are already arriving in that van, just seconds behind.
Hollywood is losing more money than it's ever lost in the history of the game. And ever. Now, will it all dump out in the end into something new and create something new? Yes, because it has to, right? Because people want to see movies. That doesn't mean that there's not like people along the way that are going to get fucked. Well, and it's just happening.
Wouldn't you argue then that Netflix is making these movie and TV companies lose out on money because they stream?
Netflix is?
Right.
No,
because they do a payout, of course, but I'm sure it's not as much.
No, Netflix fucks artists harder than anybody in the history of Hollywood because they only pay. This is amazing, and they can do it because Hollywood's getting fucked because people are stealing, and Hollywood can't give out any better deals to compete with them. So all Netflix deals are is a straight commission or a straight one-time payment, regardless of how good it does. Which means I'm going to give you $10,000 for your film, and I got it for 2 years, up to 7 years.
And that's not everybody.
And no matter how good it does, you don't get an extra nickel. And that's how they're killing it.
That's independent artists, whatever. I mean,
but standard. It's standard with most films. No, that's their production. Right. I'm talking about buying films from filmmakers. The House of Cards, they're funding that production. That's like they're putting that together. I'm saying for filmmakers, they get the worst deals in history that have ever come are coming from Netflix. And it's like when you're a filmmaker, you can't do shit about it because you can't get a better deal from a studio because they're losing their ass right now. You know, that's why the only films you see in theaters anymore are what? Blockbuster, massive $200 million films. Because that's all they can do is play that game anymore. Go big marketing, big merch, big fucking, like all that shit. Because that like $20 million indie film, like Pulp Fiction, we will never see that again at the theaters. We will never see that again. Because the marketing's too big to push that film. It'll be stolen way too early where they will never make that money back. That's why we don't see it. You know what I mean? You just don't see it anymore. And it's all due to theft. Now, the argument could be
what's not theft? Well, piracy is not theft.
Bullshit.
Theft is if you take something that's not there anymore.
If I make a movie and it's mine and I own it and I set a price for it, anybody who takes it without paying me that stole it from me. Period.
Well, right, but the term is technically like pirating because pirating you're duplicating it.
But piracy, it's saying you're stealing. That's why people go to jail for piracy if they can catch them doing it and if they can prove they do it on a massive level. Right. Piracy is stealing. It's straight up stealing. No matter how you look at it. If I make a movie and I put all my money into it and I say I own this, I own the license to this, then I should have the right to say what it costs to watch it.
It's like the same thing. It's like way back in the day when music started, file sharing and downloading, they started trying to shut those companies down. They could realize, well, you can't control people overseas, and then you had somebody like the creator or what's his name of Apple say, well, listen, people are changing the way they're sharing, delivering, and how they want content. And if you want to keep trying to do things the old method, you're going to continually have this problem. You need to revamp the method in which you're delivering, and you can offer people. If they want a song, give it to them for 99 cents, If they want a whole album, give it to them.
I agree. Obviously, look, let me start by saying this. I don't think you should ever go after your fans. And I think that's what like bands like Metallica fucked up with. Like Lars was like, we want to, get lawyers and go after our fans that stole our shit. People are going to steal shit. It's in the nature of human beings to just steal shit, and they're going to. I have obviously worked hard to build a different system and a different model that could still allow me to survive, and part of it is, a touring model involved with a digital model, involved with a rev share model, and all that stuff. So I'm not saying that I'm even going to change anything I'm doing, but I'm just saying let's not pretend it's not what it is. It's theft. Well, you're stealing from an artist.
Right,
that's what it is.
If I were to make a film, right, and I would sell it or I would put it in theaters, and I found out someone else downloaded it illegally, watched it, and loved it.
Before you ever released it? Before you ever got the chance to go to theaters? Before you ever got a chance to make a buck back on it?
That is stealing.
That's what's happening, Steve. Anytime you steal something offline instead of paying for it, that's stealing.
Well, whoever physically took that file from that company, that person, he's a thief. He stole it. But whoever...
And you're a thief for taking it,
I'm an opportunist. I'm not
See, you're playing semantics. Look, I don't care what you do, but let's be clear. You're a thief. You're stealing that. Because that person did not give you permission to do that. You're saying if I steal from a thief, I'm not a thief. No, yes, you are. If someone stole your car tomorrow and then sold it to me for $5, is it mine outright for $5? If you come to me and go, dude, that's my car. I go, no, I didn't steal it. No, I bought it. It's mine. $5.
Yeah.
No, but he stole it from me. No, it's mine for $5. Legal. Good. You know what I mean? No, it's like you would have the right to say, give me my fucking car back. It's my car.
Right.
It was taken from me illegally.
Right. I'm just saying, me personally, if somebody wanted to watch my film and they did it illegally, I would be happy. That is one more person.
No, you're full of shit because you know what? You're talking about that as a person who has never sunk money into a film. What if you sunk your life savings into it? And then you got a loan for $50,000, and then your mother loaned you $25,000, and it was all built upon you were going to release it on iTunes, sell it, and go on a tour and make that money back for her. And then tomorrow, your fucking neighbor, whatever, some fan breaks into your place, steals it, puts it up on fucking Pirate Bay, and everybody steals it once it's on there, and now you can't make a buck.
Yeah, but what if it blows up, and then I can make money from the name?
Is there any guarantee of that?
Well, exactly.
There's no guarantee of that, dude.
Of course not.
Even having a huge hit one time. Well, you tell me the sophomore success of people. The point, you're missing the whole big point here. You would damn care if you had to go, shit, Mom, I had a chance to make money back, but someone stole it. Your mom is going to go, well, all the people who stole it after the original guy stole it isn't a thief.
I agree, but it gets complex. It gets complex in the sense that it's the same thing. It's like somebody broke into somebody's car, stole a radio, sold it to you for like really cheap. It's a nice radio. You don't care that much until they break into your car and steal your shit and start selling the time with somebody else's stuff, right? But things get complicated when you start getting in the delivery of mass production of something because the rules and technologies change. Right now, the way you would financially benefit from your film is a set delivery method of how you're going to pay out. You know, maybe it's going to be Amazon will pay this way and this methodology, and Netflix pays a one-time lump sum, etc. But maybe that won't be the case in another 5 years or 10 years.
Okay, and I can refute everything both of you guys are saying right now. You familiar with the band Slipknot?
Right.
Probably the most successful metal band in the last decade, maybe 2 decades. Right? With that question?
On my signal, unleash hell. Joey, let's take these motherfuckers home, man. That's how I set this record straight, cause I don't need no feminism. Look at me, I race, singing my bitch, I'm on their fears. Where you gonna be in the next 10 years? Cooling all the food, on the ball days, gonna never let a good guy, gonna make shit. You got sick when they've been out the good. Family singing me, jump the fuck
Do you think Slipknot deserves any money off their music? Anything?
Yeah.
You want to know how much money they made?
How much?
Off the records?
Zero.
But
they're still all rich.
They're all rich because it's been 20 years of them fucking doing this on the road.
Well, because from other methods.
But my point being is, do they deserve money off their shit? You're saying just because they're rich, they should be okay with having all that money stolen from them.
No, not at all.
It's not. They should be way fucking rich because of what they've done and the music they wrote.
Okay, fine. I can give just a final example of just what I'm saying. So Churdley's. So I guess I shouldn't talk about his private financial stuff. But anyway, so when he posts a video on YouTube, he puts time into making it. He always sinks money in, all the time, into a video. Even if no one's getting paid, he's still,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And people steal his video all the time and repost on his channel, or on their channel, and he loses money because he's losing views. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? Is he mad about that? No, not at all. He's happy.
And he voiced it in here. He talked about how bad it sucks. And he's talked to me how bad it sucks that Facebook doesn't pay yet.
The only time that he doesn't like it is when people don't credit him, when they don't tag his name. Because if they post his video and tag him in it, then that's just more promotion for him. He's not making the money, but he's getting the promotion.
He's also told me straight up how bad it sucks that his videos go viral on Facebook and not YouTube.
Facebook doesn't pay yet.
See, your videos are bigger on Facebook than they're on YouTube.
Yeah,
right?
they're way bigger.
So you're not loving that.
Yeah, so it's like a bittersweet. It's like dang it, I could be making like a really good living if like these were getting paid for, you know.
Yeah, because I see some of your videos like 4 or 5 million views on YouTube. Like, what's your highest views?
Like 7.5 million.
So that's crazy.
Saturdays for the Boys video, yeah.
I mean, that's crazy because he doesn't get paid for those.
Right, of course.
He's told me that sucks. Secondly, he's starting out. He's investing in what he's doing.
Right.
I mean, the amount of money that he's maybe spending on those videos is less than $200 to go out and make something for 20 seconds. All right, and I'll guarantee you, he's making that back through his views. We're talking about apples or oranges here. I'm talking about when you go, there's a certain amount of money that you have to put in yourself and your business no matter what, right? There are set ground operating expenses that you have to cover. I'm talking about when you make a product and that product starts reaching the masses, all right? It is not justifiable to go, okay, well, dude, you shouldn't be happy because you were rich. Well, again, look how much was stolen from this person. And remember that those that are successful represent the 0.0001%. Most of the other people eventually have to get out of the game because they can't make a living doing it because their shit's getting stolen. You know, the top of the ladder. The only reason I brought up Slipknot is because I just saw this thing how Corey Taylor is only worth $10 million. Hey everyone, since we filmed this, I did a bit of research. Since we're talking about loss of income due to MP3 burning, I wanted to point this out. Corey Taylor, the frontman for Slipknot, has an estimated net worth of $10 million. Now let's not forget that his career began in 1999 at the height of Napster and the MP3 burning era. At the same time, Lars Ulrich, the drummer of Metallica, was fortunate enough to spend 15 years in the music business pre-MP3 burning. So let's take a look at the effect that had on his income. Remember, Corey Taylor, the frontman for the top-selling metal band Slipknot, is worth $10 million. What do you think Lars is worth? 50 million, 60 million, maybe 75? Try $300 million. That's the difference in MP3 burning. Give or take a few million, give or take 20 million, that's how much wealth has been stolen from Corey Taylor.
This is fucking bullshit. Top fucking billing. And I got fucked.
Can you fucking believe that? And that's how I found out Slipknot didn't make money. I was like, that's terrible. And it was on like net worth on shit. And I went looking, there was all these interviews about how they're fucked because their albums, every album they've ever done, someone has stolen it from the plant and released it. And their sales just tanked.
So someone has sold what?
Stolen it from the plant.
Wait a minute. So
the printing plant.
Yeah. So their label, though, obviously they had to make money.
They've never received a paycheck from the record label, ever. Not one.
Well, it must be part of their deal.
Well, then that's a deal with their record label.
No, it's a standard record deal. The bottom line is they don't sell enough albums. They don't sell enough albums, man, to cover the expenses back because they get advanced the money to make the music videos. They get advanced tour support.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? All that stuff. Well, so they can't pay any of that back. So they're never seeing, because, 10 to 20 million, albums are being stole for free, which that would be like 60, 70 million more dollars a person that they would have for their families, their families' families.
Yeah, but then that person, what if they like the album and go see them in concert?
I'm not
saying they pay more money for a concert
ticket. But what I'm saying is, you're saying that because if they're successful off stealing, then they should be happy to make money because they come back. It's like, that's their product. The music is their product. That's the only thing they own. That's what they own.
No, I mean,
you know what I mean, and that's what's being taken.
No, I was saying that they're rich from whatever else, because if they're not making money from their albums, like clearly there's other ways of making money.
All this stuff can be argued 50 different ways. The reality is everything got more complicated the day we quit selling something that was in your hand that you had to go buy.
Yeah, it's in your hand.
Because now you're stealing it. You pulled it out of the shelf.
It's not even complicated. It's black and white. I wrote a song.
I don't think it is either. It is a gray area, though.
It's not. I mean, it's stealing. I wrote a song. It's mine. I wrote it. My intellectual property, all the way. I wrote a song. It is my song. I own it. I say it should be charged this. In no other industry can you do this. If you built a house tomorrow, you built your house, that's your product, and I showed up and said, it's mine now. I'm taking it. I mean, I got inside when
But
you're at work.
but that's something physical. Creativity is a lot different.
You're going to say the value in a CD was the physical disc? That was never the value. The value is what? The idea. Right. The idea is that's what intellectual property is.
Right.
If you don't believe in intellectual property, you're saying you don't believe you should ever receive royalties.
I mean,
you don't think you should. You always want. You think in your career that you should always just be a 1099 guy. That you don't deserve anything for your creativity.
I mean, I hope. I hope I do.
Do you think if you created something from start to finish that was successful, should you receive royalties?
Yeah. Well, of course.
But you're arguing that you shouldn't.
No, I'm not. I'm saying if I don't, I'm not going to be upset about it.
See, but you would be if you created The Simpsons. And suddenly you weren't making any money off The Simpsons. You'd be going, what the fuck?
Well, if someone else is making money from it, then I'd be pissed, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's... And you sit there and you say, well, Slipknot can tour, right? Can they tour when they're 70? Can they tour when they're 80? Can they tour if they got in an accident and they were fucking disabled? What if their fucking wives fall sick with cancer? What if they're like Sean Gray? He dies. He's got a daughter and a wife in the world. How much money did the public steal from him that's not going to his daughter now? You see, it's not. You come from this place where millennials just grew up stealing shit,
right?
And you've all become accustomed to being thieves. Well, and you think that it's not thievery when it is. I'm not saying it's ever going to change, and I'm not saying that I haven't changed my game to go with it. Because one thing I do know is it's not going to change. If you allow someone the opportunity, they'll steal most of the time, and I've realized this. So, like when you say to me, "Why don't you steal?" Well, it's a principle. I know how hard it is to make a fucking movie and to start from a single idea and have it actually work and have somebody actually give a shit about it and not have to spend money on it. I know how hard that is. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not going to do that to another guy. So what? Who gives a fuck? Because the rest of the world's going to keep stealing shit. All I'm saying is, let's not call it what it's not. It's thievery. Anything else that if you created it and I showed up and stole it from you and said it's mine now, and you said, well, what the fuck?
I agree with everything you're saying in principle, or in actual practice,
just not,
and everything.
The
reason I'm saying it's not black and white is the same thing. It's like when they initially people would start downloading music, and the record industry didn't know what to do about it. They just would start going after like Susie Jones in Minnesota who downloaded something.
I agree, that's
and
wrong.
try to prosecute her, and she's like, "What the fuck? You downloaded this peer-to-peer program, open sharing." The thing is, everything was changing. Nobody knew how to monetize on it until somebody smart came forward who understood that and said, I'm going to create a system for you.
I agree with you. I've always said you should not go after the fan because you should understand human nature enough to know what they're going to do. If you allow someone to be a thief, they're going to be a thief. In most cases.
In that essence, though, what that fan wants is a better way of getting something they want. They don't want the old way of forcing them to buy it.
What the fan wants more often than is free shit.
Okay,
that's what they want. They don't want to buy shit. I see it in my comments all the time. If you really cared about this movie, you just release it for free. If it was really, it's like, that's bullshit.
I think when people would look at it and go, you know what, I like this song, but I have to get it. I have to go buy the CD off the shelf.
And you think that's why most people
all the rest of these songs
for free?
And I think, they would go, I just want to get this song, and they type it on. I can download it here.
You're crazy if you think that's the main reason people download it.
That's why Apple was created the way it was created. The iTunes Music and everything. That's why.
No, Apple
manufactured the exact reason why.
That's absolutely not the reason.
It was 99 cents per song. You get exactly what you want.
It is a fact. It was created because Jobs knew people are going to steal unless you give them a better method. There will be a certain percentage, a very small percentage of people, which is all that buys albums today, by the way. The biggest selling iTunes artist is fucking laughable. Michael Jackson was selling 160 million albums. If you sell 2 million iTunes singles, you're fucking Lady Gaga. Still to this day, the tiniest percentage of people who do well, iTunes was made for the upper 20% of incomes in America that actually give a fuck enough to say, I'll pay $1 for a song. Still today, primarily, most music is all ripped off.
Right.
No artist makes money off albums.
But you know who that ends up hurting though? It ends up going back to the fans because look at concert tickets now compared to the price of concert tickets before. Fucking $300, $400 for a concert ticket, man.
It does end up hurting the fans. And you know what?
Exactly.
If they actually stopped stealing the music and doing it, they would pay a lot less. They're driving their own ticket prices up.
Right.
Because they're leaving the artists with no fucking way to make money except for this. And again, what happens when they're sick?
Touring has kind of become a punch the time clock kind of gig because because we didn't have to tour as much.
Because you could sell records.
We were selling 40 million records between, all my bands.
The band used to have time off the road to regroup, write new music. You need time to chill out.
Spend time with your family.
And now it's like, well, we don't have that source of income anymore. There's no more record business.
The only way to make money is touring.
And so
for those that are lucky to even be able to tour.
That's right, because you had the following from when records were being sold.
Yeah.
And so you're one of the lucky few. But I see your point.
What happens when they have family shit? What happened? Not to mention, 99% of artists don't fucking make it. There was a time period where album sales on a bad album would be enough to at least carry artists to the next album. You know what I mean? Right. They could at least make a living. Now it is fucking sink or sink. It's not sink or swim. It's sink or sink, and 0.00001% will get lucky enough to actually make a living out of it. And it's honestly becoming, because there is such a small percentage of people. What Jobs knew is that there is a small percentage of people that would rather skip the download search for process for free shit, that would rather spend the buck. But by and large, to this day, still 90% of record sales of what they were are still stolen today. And that is why artists don't fucking make money off albums.
Well, most people have like Spotify, Apple, Apple Music.
And they make a fraction of a dick.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, they make nothing.
So I would say, though, that lump sums into the concept of being stolen. It's because it's how it's being put out to the audience. If it's just Amazon in bulk or whatever, then you're making a small thing per play of that song.
Well, and it fucks the artist in this way too. There was a time period where artists were signed for a body of work. There was a time period where artists were signed because they wanted to foster them and build a career. Now they're signed for Gangnam Style. Because that's quick. That's easy. Pop one song, put it on iTunes, sell a fucking million of that shit, moving on to the next artist.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it works now. That's why you see shit for music. You know what I mean? That's why artists are barely around anymore. You love an artist and you're like, fuck, he put out like 2 albums. Where's he been for the last 5 years? Broke. Because everybody wants to fucking steal shit.
How did we start talking about this? It was off of a news story, or what was it?
VPN.
VPN. Yeah. Well, anyways, look, the bottom line is, I understand people will steal shit. It's a weird thing because obviously you're thankful if anybody wants to see your shit. Of course you want that to happen.
Right.
But, be the guy that can't make the next movie or the next album because he's fucking broke. And you're like, wait a minute, how the fuck am I broke and 10 million people are listening to my shit right now? So that's the only reason I don't, is just because a long time ago I thought about it. It's just like one of those things where it's like, you know what, man, I would hope someone respected my shit enough to go, man, this guy put like 3 years of his life into this. I'd give him $8. You know what I mean? For something they like. You know what I mean?
Unless you don't have $8 to give.
Well, then work for it. And that's the disconnect from millennials. Millennials are like, work for it.
But I work really hard, man. It's just from circumstance sometimes.
I wouldn't say you work hard. You show up.
Dude, I work really hard,
Steve. I've worked with you. It's not you work hard, you're there. You're talented and you're there. Working hard is a different thing, dude. That's a different thing.
I don't really like. I don't like the word talent, man, because I got to where I am from hard work. You know. Whether you think it's hard work, whether you think it's talent.
No, I think you think it's hard work. I would say you got to where you're at, whether you believe it or not, by having a really good God-given eye for fucking film. And I think that the harder we are on you, the harder you work for us. But I think that there's...
Well, I was really bad when I started, man. I didn't start off amazing. I was horrible.
Listen, I don't make this personal because it's not. My point being is that in any other industry in the world, if someone creates something, no matter what it is, they deserve to get paid for that, whatever they want, because they own it.
Right.
And that's why, like, artists got to find reasonable prices, right? If you price yourself out of the market, you're fucked, right? You can't go too high. You don't want to go too low, because then you're fucked. Well, what sucks about this is, again, it's completely taken away from the artist. And the artist is made to feel like shit if they feel like they should get paid for what they do. But yet their job is a bigger risk than most jobs. They put more hours into it than most people put into it. I mean, try being, you know how hard it is to be an artist. You've been around artists, you know, and actually make a living at it. It's so fucking hard. Well, what sucks about it is it's up to me to be creative, to figure out how I still make it. And that never used to be a part of an artist's job. And now their job is to not only be creative and come up with something great that the public wants, but on top of it, you got to be a creative businessman and figure out how the fuck you make a buck.
How do you make money off of now what I do?
Right, and by the way, everything you figure out now, it could change by next month. Yeah. Once they figure out new ways to steal your shit. You know what I mean? So it's just, it's a bitch, you know, and it's something that I'm passionate about. I understand it, you know. I got to change with the times or I'm going to die. And I love that I have fans that would do it. But I also believe that my real fans, I'll tell you why I love Patreon. I think that's a bigger solution than anything else. And Radiohead proved this. They put an album out for free, and they used like a Patreon service. They were like, pay us whatever you want. Huh. And they made more off that, like $11 million or something. They made way more than they had made off any other preview album they did through a label. I think that's a better service because I'm okay with the audience holding me to a bar and saying, if you want my money, it's got a fucking rule, right? I'm okay with that. That's why I like Patreon. If someone says, dude, that's dope, I'll support that shit. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's probably the best middle ground that I've seen so far in today's world. Because and granted, still, most people won't pay shit.
Dude, so think about it. Think about how personal music or film is. I mean, it impacts somebody in the moment in their life or hugely, and then somebody else who's just maybe somebody shallow and just kind of busy with other stuff. They're just watching. It's pretty good, you know, whatever. So depending on how much it affects them and how much art they took in from what you did in that connection would make them want to give you more for it. It's worth more to them personally, right? And that's the complicated part of art is you're saying this CD, regardless of how it impacts you, regardless of whatever, is $14.99, you know? I mean, or whatever it is. And it almost feels like it's more personal in the concept like with a Patreon or something where it's like saying, no, it could be that song saved your life. Is that worth $1 million? You know, boom.
Yeah. No, it's hard. It is hard. Anyways, we went off on this forever, but to be continued, man. To be continued. VPN things, Russians, why are they doing it? I just think they want to see who's doing what, and they just don't want, you know, people to have access, and, you know, especially because the Russians seem to be in the hacking game. My email gets hit every day by Russian shit. We talked about this.
Yeah.
Why Russian emails from our website constantly?
I develop a ton of websites, dude. I was laughing going, this is hilarious. I can look at all the stats and the analytics and the top hits and all these different websites that have nothing. I mean, one was an insurance website, right? And what are the Russians hitting that like crazy for?
What doesn't make sense to me? Why would Russia want to shut that down, man? They have their fingerprint everywhere.
It's just the way that computers work. It's a system on how. So, like when you put that button, it's just gonna head out. It doesn't. It's not like they're saying we're gonna target specifically Nelson Brothers Insurance in Iowa.
Right, yeah.
They don't even know what the hell that is. They're just sending it through the waves, and it's hitting servers randomly. Huh?
Why?
Because what they're trying to do is find a world writable file or a file that they have a way to hack, and now it can write onto that server, and then you start using that. It's almost like they would start using servers to mine Bitcoin, maybe. Maybe that's why, you know? Maybe you can start using everybody else's servers throughout the world, and your hash rate power goes up through the roof, and now you're making tons and tons, right? I mean, there's tons of different rationale and reasons why. It depends on what the program is. It depends on where it's written, you know, and... And at that point, it would become nobody would be able to know. Are we getting hacked from Russia or are we getting hacked from the U.S.? Because that same bot is now hitting us from U.S. servers now because it's been written all over the place, right? So,
goddamn Russians. That was a crazy episode of Paramerican Radio. It's always good, man. Look, heated conversations are good to have, man. It means we give a shit about what we're talking about, man.
Yeah.
So awesome. Thank you guys for tuning into this, and share your thoughts with us. Let us know how you feel about all this in the comments, man. We'd love to hear back from you guys. So, Justin, Steve, say goodbye.
Adios.
Peace, everybody. Bye bye.
Paramerican Radio.
Yeah.